So the docket is before you, Mr. Moderator, and I so move it.
Mr. Moderator, I rise to 2 points of order.
Yes.
Mr. Moderator, I'm Rufus Burton, the clerk of the New River Presbytery. The first point of order, irregularities in the filing of overtures with the Office of the General Assembly. On 22nd March, the stated clerk informed me that for an ascending overture to be properly received and filed, it must be signed by both the moderator of the sending presbytery and countersigned by the stated clerk of the sending presbytery. Directed by the stated clerk to his principal private secretary and to himself, and receipt must be acknowledged. I have in my hand the hard copy of the countersigned overture, an acknowledgement of the receipt of the New River Ascending Overture filed 15 February 2024 and filed again 22 March 2024. Either the presbyters of the New River are owed a substantial apology, or items 4430 through 4435 must be excluded from this assembly on the basis that they have been improperly attested and therefore are out of order in their filing.
Rufus, could you just, in plain language, explain why you believe the overtures were not properly handled?
What I'm suggesting is I was told the requirements were the signature of both a clerk and the moderator of the sending presbytery.
Okay.
The overtures recorded in the packet only bear the attesting signature of the clerk.
Okay. Well, all of the overtures that were received in my office qualify to the criteria that you stated. If they're not recorded accordingly in the Commissioner's Handbook, we apologize for that discretion, but we certify that all of the overtures were received appropriately.
All right, is that really, Mr. Moderator?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Second, the Permanent Judicial Commission has exceeded its constitutional authority, and item 4436 and item 4436 must be dropped from their report as it is out of order. Specifically, Book of Government 2.1 and 3.1, and in Book of Government 21.3 D2, make it clear that the graded courts of elders determine the mind of the church and not individuals or committees. The split decision of 10 members to exclude the overture from the floor from the assembly is further a direct violation of Acts 15. Action 4436 is an arbitrary and unconstitutional decision not to bring a properly filed overture by a presbytery to the floor for discussion and debate. The EPC is a connectional and not a hierarchical body. Book of Government 3.1 makes this clear. The authority given to the church by Christ is moral and spiritual only, thus distinguishing the government of the church from the civil government. The authority of church courts is limited to the expressed provisions of the Constitution and is exercised in its church courts, not by individuals. The authority given to the church is for the purpose of proclamation, administration, and enforcement of the commands of Jesus as revealed in Scripture. Exercise of this authority must always be in conformity with the Scriptures. This makes it clear that the authority is expressly limited and is only exercised by church courts and not individuals or committees. The PJC's action clearly further violates Rules for Assembly 7.4, forcing therefore a violation of Rules for Assembly 9.5c, and reversing the intention of Rules for Assembly 10.1g. By the action of the PJC,
the clock has expired, and so I think as a rule of order, Rufus, we're going to have to say that you've concluded your time to ask the question. Mm-hmm. If I could just speak to it very briefly, Rufus, the rules of the Assembly determine how overtures are handled, and the rule that would be, the main rule here would be 9.1. And 9.1 says all business shall ordinarily come to the floor of the Assembly for final action through standing committees. So the action of the Permanent Judicial Commission goes to a standing committee, and what comes to the floor is not determined by a presbytery, is not determined by a permanent committee, is determined by a standing committee of the Assembly, unless it's an ad interim committee, according to 9-1. And so I will leave it to the parliamentarian to make the rule, but I will tell you that what the PJC has done and the opinion of the stated clerk is completely in order with the rules of the Assembly. So, but let's leave it to the parliamentarian concur. So that's a ruling of the chair at this point.
Then on the basis of 21D2, I appeal the ruling
Rufus,
of the chair.
I'm sorry, the motion is, we need to move on.
So Rufus says there's an appeal to the ruling of the chair. An appeal to the ruling of the chair is our parliamentarian has said that the PJC acted constitutionally based on what was it, Rufus, 21D?
21D2, A and B.
Right. He is appealing the ruling of the chair, saying that he believes the chair has erred in his ruling. It takes a simple majority to overturn the ruling of the chair. If you're inclined to believe that the ruling of the chair has been in error, you would say so. And we put it that way, do you sustain the ruling of the chair? So it's been moved. It needs to be seconded. Is there a second?
Is there a second?
Okay, there's this move and a second. There is debate on that. There's no debate on that. Okay, so we move right to the vote on that. And so the question, Mr. Moderator, should be put, do we sustain the ruling of the chair?
All right. Do we sustain the ruling of the chair? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. Okay, there's enough where there should be.
It's a simple majority, so if your rule is by voice, that was a simple majority, then the appeal fails.
Yeah. Okay. Was that a simple majority? Yes. Okay. Yes. All right, the ruling fails. The appeal fails.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
All right, thank you.
Call for count.
Okay, dividing the House. Those who want to sustain the motion of the chair, would you please stand? Before we actually go through the time it will take to count everybody, could we ask you to sit down and ask for those who would disagree with the motion of the chair to please stand? I think that's pretty clear, Mr. Moderator. It has to be 51%, and I'm saying that that's not 51%.
Sure. All right. Motion fails.